So writing the server first of all. So the server interface has a simple method called getQuote, and we need a server impl.java. So in here we'll have public class server impl, and server impl implements server ITF. And we need to implement the methods on the class. So inside our getQuote method, we can return a quote, and let's return something like one small step for man. So for the client code, we'll need to do a couple of things. We'll have the client iterate, asking the user for input, and we'll allow the user to select what they want to do. So they can, for example, either print the quote, or they can quit the application, or we'll also give them an option to allow them to reload the server. The client code will also need to be written to allow us to reload the server. So we'll write that code first. So here we'll have a public static void method called reload server. And we'll have this just throw an exception, as there'll be a few exceptions our code here will throw. Inside here, we need to create a URL array. We'll call this thing URLs. We'll say new URL array, and then we'll initialize this with a new URL. And the URL we specify here will be the location of our server classes. So this will be something like /server class, remembering the file protocol for this. Once we have that, we can create a class loader. So we can say cl equals new URL class loader, and to this class loader we can pass the URLs. So we just pass in URLs, and from that we can create an instance of our server. So we can say server equals cl.load class, and we'll give this the name of our class. That's com.pluralsight.serverimpl, and then we'll call .new instance on this to create the instance of the class that we need. And we'll need to cast this to be the right type. So we can now write the loop inside the main function to allow us to read the user's input. So the loop code will look something like this. We create a buffered reader, allowing the user to enter something from the keyboard. We print out a message telling the user what to enter, and then depending on what that message is, we'll do the appropriate command. So if they enter quit, we'll close the application. If they enter quote, then we'll print out the quote, and if they enter reload, then we'll reload the server. The server isn't loaded yet, so before we do anything else, we need to call reload server to load the server here. This throws an exception, so we need to add that exception to our method signature, and then we also need to make that call here when the client asks to reload the server. If the client enters the quote command, we can take the server variable from above and call server.getQuote, and we can print that out. So we can print out the message to the console. And at this point we're good to go. So if I take my ant.build file and run build and check the messages, we seem to have built okay, and we can now run this application from the command line. So we can run the code from the command line, say java -cp classes com.pluralsight.client, and we get the message. So from here we can type quote, and we get one small step for man. So what we can now do is go back into our code. We can change the message, so one giant leap for mankind. Using the ant build script, we can just build the server code. Look at the messages, and we see this code is built. If we go back to the command prompt and type in reload, and then type in quote, we now get one giant leap for mankind. So we've reloaded the quote server without reloading the application.